These two shock absorbers are from a Honda CT90. You know, the first one's 1967, 1968. And they're also identical to the ones that were on the CT200, which was the CT90's predecessor, which was made for a couple years before the CT90. And what I want to do is I want to clean this rust off of this the best I can. I know it's not going to come off perfectly. And change these covers. They're plastic, and this one's broken. This one's even worse. It's burned by the exhaust. So I need to get these covers off. And at first I didn't know how to do it, so I had to look into it. And I've done it once now, so now I'm an expert. I can make a video. And actually, I just want to share some information that I learned with everybody. But I try to get them apart, and you turn them like this, and they don't want to unscrew. And the problem is, on the end of this, there's a nut. It's inside under this cover. And the tension is really tight. You can't pull it down. So you need to have a some kind of a shock compressor. And I'm sure you can buy them, but I wanted to see if I could make one. But what you need is something that'll go over this end here and catch on the plastic here and push down, and because there's a lot of tension on the spring now, so it'll push down on the spring and then expose the nut to take off. That's the whole goal right now. So I started looking around the garage here, and I found this part. It's got a hole in the middle of it here, and it fits over this head here, but it won't quite grab onto the plastic. And I actually tried to use it, and it slipped over the plastic and it would damage a new one. So this won't work. And there's another part I found. This is part of the starter of the ATC 185, and it has a hole in the bottom here, and it's just the right size. It'll just go over this, well, almost. I had to grind a few spots, the four corners over it, and it'll just slip over now. But that's perfect. It goes over and it catches most all the plastic. So I have part of the compressor built. Well, here's the compressor that I came up with. I built it almost totally with scraps that I found around. Not that many, really. This all thread I didn't have to buy. It was one piece, 3-foot piece. And so I'm into this for $4.02. Oh my. I have two nuts, one on the bottom and one on the top, and a washer. On the bottom here, I dinged up the threads because I don't want this unscrewing by accident. It won't matter when we're doing the compression, but we start to let the compression off. We don't want this to come off and let everything go flying. I mean, if I knew how to weld, I probably would just put a spot of weld on it, but I don't know how to do that. And I made a little hole here in the wood on the bottom for the end of the shock so it won't slip off. And this 2x4 fits nicely into the vise. Oh. Supposed to be another washer on this side. Okay, so let's compress this thing. What we do now is we start screwing these down little by little. And what I have is a deep socket here, and this was these two pieces of all thread. It was one 3-foot piece, and I cut it off. Now, if you cut it off a little higher where the socket's not deep enough, well, you could always resort to this type of a wrench, but that'd be really slow. They also have a ratcheting combination wrench, and that'd be a little bit better. This is a through socket where the bowl will go right through it, the all thread, and then there's a ratchet you can put on that, which goes through, but that's not really a whole lot better than the combination ratcheting wrench. Only thing is, you can put an extension on it, then you can put another deep socket on it, and then the all thread could be, you know, like up this high. So anyway, that's not really part of taking this apart, but I just thought I'd throw it in. Okay, now we're gonna keep tightening this up. We're compressing the spring in there because we want to expose the nut under there. Now, if you look under here, I'm going to move the camera so you can see it better. This part under here, this is really two parts. There's a rod underneath it, that's a third part. And then there's a nut that's threaded onto the rod, and this part is threaded on. So we need to put a wrench on this nut here and put something through this hole here to break them loose, because they're locked together. And that's the next step. All right, I should use a 22mm wrench, but I don't have one, so I have my adjustable metric wrench. And I'll grab onto that nut underneath there and break it loose with a screwdriver. This top part just unscrews. Okay, there's one piece. This will unscrew. This is the bottom. Okay, now we can let the tension off, so we can get this plastic off. Okay, and under the plastic there's a washer, fiber washer or rubber or something, I'm not really sure. Then you pull the spring out, and you notice the spring, the windings are farther apart here than they are on the bottom. So that's the direction it goes in. Then there's this rubber thing. This part comes off now. And then this metal case. And there's a metal collar under here to come out. There's a rubber bushing here, and there's a rubber bushing on the top. They'll come out, but I'm not going to take them off because I'm not changing them. Okay, that's the disassembly. I'm going to reassemble it now. It's essentially just the reverse, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, here are the parts laid out, and the order that they're going to go on. And the first thing you do is, if you're changing these rubber grommets, there's one here, or bushings, I guess, rubber bushings, and then there's one here. You could do that first. And then there's a collar here. It goes inside this bottom bushing. The top one doesn't have one. It just goes on the frame. Okay. Then we put this middle cover on. Then this real thin rubber or whatever it is, some kind of a fiber. Probably just for insulation, keep it silent, I'm not sure. That goes in here. Then you want to pull this up if you haven't already done it. It should push down easy and it should come back stiff. That's the shock. I'm sure there's a more precise way to check it, but let's give you an idea that's working at least somewhat. We'll put this in here. Okay, so then we'll put this rubber part on, and it'll go down like this. And you can see the bottom part, it'll fit inside here. So this will go on next. No, they're out of order. This plastic part goes on. No, they are in order. This goes on next. The plastic part goes on next. And now we're ready to compress it. So it'll go on the compressor next. First, this will go under here. And I'll push it up. I'm unscrewing the bolts of the top to give it a little bit more slack. And then push this bottom part into this hole in the wood. Okay, I need to move the camera now to show the rest of it. Okay, this will be essentially the reverse of disassembly. We want to make sure everything here is centered up before we start tightening it up. This won't necessarily be centered. We can move that over a little bit. So now we can start tightening it up. Mainly we want this hole to be centered over the plastic part. This rod in the middle we can move around. Okay, that should be good. Goes on, this part goes down. Okay, then we lock them together. Then we start letting the compression off little by little, and here's where we can push this rod over to center it, because you want it to go through that hole. Okay, there we are. Back with the one with the chip in it. All right, well, when I get my new ones, I'll have to do this again. That's the end of this video.